Hey y'all, it's me again. Now, today I'm going to be talking about NATO and U.S. military expenditures because those things are very much tied, in my opinion. But I talk about these things because of something that Ivo Dalder said. He is a former U.S. ambassador to NATO, and he argued that the U.S. needs to be in NATO, that it is necessary for the defense of the United States and the defense of Europe from that big, bad, evil Russia, that we need to be in NATO. I'm not of the same mindset as him. I think the U.S. already does enough for the world, militarily. Now, the U.S. military expenditures are greater than the next 7 nations combined. And there's a very good reason for that. Most of U.S. expenditures are to Navy and Air Force, the Navy budget including the Marine Corps. Now, with the greatest expenditures of the U.S. military being their Navy and their Air Force, you have to realize that our Navy and our Air Force is what is protecting global trade. The U.S. has over double the amount of tonnage of boats, war vessels, in the ocean than the next 2 nations combined. Over double. If it wasn't for the U.S. war vessels in the oceans, global trade wouldn't be a thing like it is now. It wouldn't be as simple as it is now. You also have to take into consideration that the U.S. only spends about 3.3% of our GDP on military. Comparatively, European nations, they spend about 1.5% on average of their GDP on military expenditures. Simply put, the United States has more money that it can spend on military than other countries because we have about 24% of the GDP of the world in one nation. The next closest would be China at 13%. And I really don't think that you want China protecting international trade. Do ya? I'm very happy that the United States is protecting international trade because we are a military that can be depended upon to protect international trade without bias. We don't go around sinking naval vessels or trade ships or selective protection of different ships based on some ideological basis. We understand that global trade is a necessity in modern society, so we protect it all. Now, the reason that I think the United States should remove itself from NATO is because we really shouldn't have some sort of an alliance that is empirical in nature. Certainly we can be allies with Europe, and we can come to their defense, if they so need it. But should we have a standing military protecting Europe? Should we be actively sending money over to protect NATO and European interests? I would argue no. The United States makes up about 22.1% of NATO expenditures, meaning that we give the lion's share of NATO. The next closest member is Germany at 14%. All NATO entities are, by 2024, supposed to have 2% of their GDP dedicated to military expenditures. Currently, only 5 have that. Oh, they promised to increase military expenditures, even though every single European country except for Greece that is in NATO currently has a decrease in military expenditures as a trend. This leads me to believe that the United States will continue to be the lion's share for the foreseeable future. I don't see why we need to be the lion's share of military protection for Europe. I don't see why we need to be Big Daddy standing over Europe. Europe's an old place. They have very old, very powerful nations, and they need to protect themselves. If they're unable to do so, that's on them, not on us. Now, Dalder brings up that the U.S. participated in World War I, World War II, and the Cold War. All of these were really against our will. We didn't want to participate in World War I. We were sending supplies over, not just to Britain and the Allies, but to Germany as well, to Russia and Austria-Hungary. The reason we even joined into World War I in the first place is because Germany decided to go back to indiscriminately sinking ships with their submarines, their U-boats. So we joined on the side of the Allies and eventually won World War II is an even trickier thing. The US just got done with a land war in Europe, and we certainly didn't want another one. But Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. Even after Japan had bombed Pearl Harbor, we were reluctant to even go to war with Japan over it, because we knew it would mean another land war in Europe. But we did go into those wars, and we did help swing the tide of those wars. Now, the Cold War is basically because communism, and communism is the shittiest fucking thing ever. Fuck you, communists. All in all, the United States already does enough for the world. We don't need to keep doing more. The world needs to realize that yes, we already protect you. Overwhelmingly, we protect most of the world. We have very strong allies in many different places and in many different countries. Our Navy and our Air Force and our Marines protect international trade on unparalleled levels comparatively to other nations. We don't need to be funneling money into Europe. Europe needs to take care of itself. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. I'm going to be trying to push out content just about every week. If you have something to add or something else you want to talk about, please feel free to comment below, and I'll see it, and I'll do my best to comment on it. I would like to make an amendment to last week's video. It turns out that the Netherlands has a standing Turkish population for about 50 years now. That is ridiculous that they are still that much of a problem. Again, I really want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time.